Making $1 million is hard. Keeping it is harder. And almost nobody talks about why. We celebrate the stories of people who went from nothing to rich. But we ignore the far more common story of people who went from rich back to nothing. Today we're examining why getting rich is actually the easy part, and why staying rich is a completely different skill that most people never develop. By the end of this video, you'll understand the psychological traps that destroy wealth, the patterns that predict financial collapse, and the exact systems that the sustainably wealthy use to keep their money for generations. Let's start with the numbers because they are shocking. 70% of lottery winners go broke within 5 years of winning. Not 70% lose some money. 70% go completely broke. Some end up worse off than before they won. The National Endowment for Financial Education found that the bigger the jackpot, the faster the money disappears. Now look at professional athletes. 78% of NFL players are bankrupt or under severe financial stress within 2 years of retirement. 2 years. These are people who earn millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars. Sports Illustrated reported that 60% of NBA players go broke within 5 years of leaving the league. And it's not just athletes and lottery winners. Roughly 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation, and 90% lose it by the third generation. These aren't lazy people or stupid people. Many of them are incredibly talented. But talent at making money and skill at keeping money are two entirely different abilities. Getting rich requires ambition, risk-taking, and intensity. Staying rich requires discipline, humility, and systems. Most people only develop the first set of traits. Wealth destruction pattern number 1. Lifestyle inflation without limits. This is the number one killer of new wealth. When money arrives suddenly, whether from a business exit, inheritance, career breakthrough, or lottery win, the natural human response is to upgrade everything immediately. New house, new car, new wardrobe, new circle of friends who also spend freely. The problem isn't spending money. It's that spending scales faster than the money can sustain. A person who earns $200,000 a year and spends $180,000 is in a worse position than someone who earns $60,000 and spends $40,000. The first person has a $20,000 margin. The second has a $20,000 margin with dramatically lower fixed costs. When income drops, and it always fluctuates eventually, the high spender is immediately in crisis. Their mortgage, car payments, subscriptions, memberships, and lifestyle commitments exceed their reduced income. But they can't scale back because they've anchored their identity to that lifestyle. Mike Tyson earned over $400 million during his career and filed for bankruptcy. MC Hammer earned over $33 million and went broke. These weren't people who lacked income. They were people whose expenses expanded to consume every dollar and then some. Wealth destruction pattern number 2. Confusing identity with money. Here's a psychological trap almost nobody sees coming. When you get rich, money becomes part of who you are. Your confidence, your social status, your self-worth, all of it gets entangled with your bank balance. This creates a catastrophic vulnerability. When the money is threatened, your identity is threatened. And people will do insane things to protect their identity. They'll double down on bad investments instead of cutting losses because admitting a loss feels like admitting they're not smart. They'll keep spending even as their wealth shrinks because reducing their lifestyle feels like admitting they're failing. They'll refuse to ask for help or seek financial advice because acknowledging they need guidance means acknowledging they don't have it all figured out. The sustainably wealthy have a completely different relationship with money. They see it as a tool, not an identity. Warren Buffett doesn't think of himself as a rich person who invests. He thinks of himself as an investor who happens to be rich. That distinction is everything. When your identity is separate from your net worth, you can make rational decisions about money without ego getting in the way. Wealth destruction pattern number 3. Trusting the wrong advisors. When someone comes into money, they immediately attract a swarm of people offering to help manage it. Financial advisors, real estate agents, investment managers, business partners, and long-lost relatives all showing up with opportunities. The problem is that newly wealthy people often lack the financial literacy to evaluate whether the advice is good. They trust the advisor's confidence instead of understanding the substance. Bernie Madoff's clients included some of the most sophisticated investors in the world. They trusted him because he seemed credible, was well-connected, and delivered consistent returns. He stole $65 billion. You don't need to be a victim of fraud to be destroyed by bad advice. A financial advisor who charges 2% annual management fees will consume over 40% of your total investment returns over a 30-year period. An aggressive real estate broker who convinces you to over-leverage can wipe you out in a single market correction. A well-meaning but financially illiterate family member who talks you into a business venture can burn through hundreds of thousands. The lesson isn't to trust no one. It's to develop enough financial literacy that you can evaluate the advice you're receiving. Never outsource understanding entirely. Delegate execution, but own the strategy. Wealth preservation strategy number 1. The bucket system. The sustainably wealthy don't keep all their money in one place or managed by one strategy. They divide it into distinct buckets with different purposes and time horizons. Bucket 1 is the emergency fortress. 6 to 12 months of living expenses in cash or cash equivalents. High-yield savings accounts, short-term treasury bills, money market funds. This money is never invested aggressively. It exists to absorb shocks. Bucket 2 is the growth engine. Long-term investments in diversified index funds, real estate, or businesses. This money has a 10-plus year time horizon. It rides through market ups and downs because you never need to touch it in a panic. Bucket 3 is the income generator. Assets that produce regular cash flow. Dividend stocks, rental properties, bonds, business income. This covers your monthly living expenses so you never need to sell growth assets. Bucket 4 is the opportunity fund. 5 to 10% of total wealth set aside for calculated risks. A startup investment, a real estate deal, a business opportunity. If it fails, it doesn't impact your lifestyle, emergency fund, or long-term growth. This system means that no single bad decision can destroy your financial foundation. The money is compartmentalized so that risk is contained. Wealth preservation strategy number 2. Build systems, not willpower. Willpower is unreliable. Every study on self-control shows that it depletes over time. If you rely on willpower to manage money, you will eventually make an emotional decision that costs you dearly. The sustainably wealthy remove willpower from the equation by building automated systems. Their savings are automated. Money moves from income accounts to investment accounts before they ever see it. Their bills are automated. Everything is on autopay, so late fees and missed payments are impossible. Their investment strategy is automated. Regular contributions to index funds on a fixed schedule regardless of what the market is doing. Their spending has structural limits. They use separate accounts for discretionary spending with fixed monthly transfers. When the discretionary account is empty, spending stops. No decision required. They have accountability structures. An annual meeting with a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor who reviews their entire financial picture. Not someone who earns commissions. Someone who is legally obligated to act in their interest. The key insight is that wealthy people who stay wealthy don't have more discipline than everyone else. They have better systems. They architect their financial lives so that the right behavior happens by default, and the wrong behavior requires deliberate effort. The ultimate wealth preservation mindset comes down to understanding one simple truth. Getting rich is about offense. Staying rich is about defense. And the best defense isn't exciting. It's boring. It's keeping 6 months of expenses in cash even when you could invest it for better returns. It's passing on the hot investment tip even when everyone else is making money on it. It's driving a car for 10 years even when you could easily afford a new one every year. It's saying no to 90% of the opportunities that come your way because you've learned that most opportunities are distractions disguised as possibilities. Morgan Housel, the author of The Psychology of Money, put it perfectly. He said the ability to stick around for a long time without wiping out or being forced to give up is what makes the biggest difference. That applies to investing, careers, relationships, and wealth. Compounding is the most powerful force in finance. But it only works if you never interrupt it. Every time you make a reckless financial decision, you reset the compounding clock. The wealthy people who stay wealthy for decades and generations understand that their primary job is not to grow their money. It's to never interrupt the compounding. Everything else takes care of itself. Getting rich is a sprint. Staying rich is a marathon. And now you know the difference. If you want more strategies for building and preserving real wealth, subscribe to the Wealth Code and turn on notifications. We post new videos every week that give you the financial knowledge that schools never teach and banks don't want you to have. Drop a comment telling me the biggest wealth destroyer you've seen in your own life. I read every comment, and I'll see you in the next one.